but I feel like he sometimes does not RSVP and then is still able to join us. So
I RSVP'd this time, didn't I?
I forgot
Yes.
to.
Okay.
And don't stress it. Not a problem. Email or RSVP, whatever keeps it on your calendar, whatever keeps it easy for you.
Okay, Alan's in the
Oh, perfect.
video.
But no Deborah yet.
No.
Okay.
I thought Carol responded that she was coming.
Like 10 minutes
Yeah,
ago,
she
just
just
wrote, just said something popped
Oh,
up.
okay, okay.
Can I come?
She tried calling me on Tuesday. I was in LA and I was in a meeting. So when I got out, I tried to call her and she didn't answer. And then like 2 hours later, she tried to call me and I was tied up and didn't answer. And an hour later, hi there, I called her and she didn't answer. So we phone tagged a little bit and never spoke.
Getting there. Now, Skip, historically, have y'all interacted much with the Senior Advisory Commission at all or not at all?
The rec commission?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. We oversee both.
Right.
I wasn't sure if we ever got the groups together or just let them both do their own thing. So
Closest we would have been together is when we were meeting over in the.
They met
At
Yeah,
the
if
same
we
table.
passed each other in the hall. That would have been the closest. That as long as I've been involved.
okay, great. We were able to get a brand new commission on Tuesday night at the council meeting. And so they have met for several years now. All of COVID essentially. They've had some ad hoc groups and just, all that, but we finally got them back up and running and get
That's
them on the
really
calendar.
cool.
Yeah, it's a great group. Very dedicated people in there. Well, are we to start time? I also think, knock on wood, but I think we might be a nice, efficient meeting today. I think it is a very busy time for us with budget and capital improvement and a lot of things. And so we have a few status reports and just make sure again that we're going in the right direction, but hopefully smooth sailing. So again, thanks for being here. Alan, thanks for joining us online. Good to have you with us today.
Thanks for accommodating me. Sorry I can't be there in person.
Not a stress at all. Well, good. Well, first introductions. I want to make sure we know everyone that's in the room today. Mariah, is this is not your first time. This is your second time. A couple of times. Good. So we have Mariah from the fitness facility. Sean is going to be joining us today, talking about a lot of our sports capital improvement projects that we have sort of put through and are working towards over the next couple of years. And so we don't have to listen to me the whole time today. It's always a better meeting to get to hear from everyone. And obviously we know Debbie and Marissa as well. So let's get started with our capital improvement. So we are on step 3 of 4 of our city municipal budget this year. We have gone through our personnel, and that was sort of the first round. Although we just, as Mariah will talk about in a minute, we already have changes, significant changes to that because people don't work for the pay rate they used to a couple months ago. So we've got some significant changes there. The second phase was our operating budgets, and the news there. Is that Danny?
Danny.
Hey, welcome, Danny. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
The second one was our operating budget, and the fitness center was doing good. We had a lot of continued incremental growth for our sports programs, our indoor programs, everything like that. And then obviously there was the discussion about the swim team that came with that operational budget. And now we are to the third phase, which is our capital improvements projects. And so this is our 5-year plans to find out what we are planning on doing the next 5 years and how we plan on funding that. So for the recreation budget, we have 3 main funding sources. The first is what we call Fund 56. That is our operating revenue. And so we have, this year we established a sinking fund for the fitness center. So when we make additional dollars, we are going to put the first $100,000 into the sinking fund so that it can just grow over time so that when we have major replacements in our future, we don't have to go back to tax dollars. We'll just be taken care of. That won't sit there forever. I don't think we'll spend all of it 30 years from now, but it'll be nice to just move towards that. The second fund source that we have is Fund 45. Those are our capital improvement projects from general fund dollars, from gas tax dollars. There's a lot of things like we're looking at adding some ADA spots here at the fitness center without taking them away from the high school. And so that is something that might come from like a gas tax or a Fund 45. And then the third source is our care tax. And that is recreation, arts, 50-50 split. That comes in. Some of it goes directly to co-sponsored groups. Some of it on the art side goes to like different organizations that are independent of the city within the city. And then some of it goes to the city for recreation, sports, athletic projects and everything like that. And so really trying to take each of those funds. There's several others for other parts of the city, you know, specifically for parks, the Land Water Conservation Fund, CDBG block grants will go for different parks and playgrounds. Wetlands mitigation. There's all sorts of stuff, but for us, those are the main three. And so
And
as
CBG grants are all applied year to year, right?
year to
It's
year,
not a rollover. We have to reapply each year for projects that meet the criteria.
yeah, that's probably the easy way. There is some rollover, there are some exceptions, but
Money keeps coming every year. It's just,
yeah, and how we apply for it, report on it, everything like that. But you know, especially like our seniors have received a lot of CDBG money over the years. Well, certain neighborhood parks that will qualify for CDBG money based off of the income demographics. And so, again, for a lot of parks, playgrounds, pavilions, those can pretty strategically be involved with the CDBG money and go from there. But for us, we have a number of CIP items that we have put in for, some of them for this year, some of them on our 5-year plan. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sean Broderick to go first today and talk a little bit about what we are looking to do with our 5-year athletic facilities plan. So Sean, take it away.
All right, so I'm Sean. I've been with the city 6.5 years, almost 7 years. So past 5, I've been in charge of the adult softball program down at Lakeside. She is pulling up a few things, but we go 2 seasons currently. We started this week, and then we end all the way in October. So it's a long time, 2 long seasons. And we've talked about a few things adding to Lakeside. Lakeside's almost 20 years old. Still great shape, but just a few things to make it better. We've talked about adding dirt. We've talked about turf, and that's what I'm here for to talk to you guys about.
Do you want the video first?
Yeah, let's play the video first. This was last year in October. This is me pumping fields. So this is hopefully it pulls up, but
I don't think it'll fit.
I don't know. It's been a long time.
I walked in, I saw you, I'm like, I know it from somewhere.
Grew up with Cole.
Cole,
so,
yeah, he grew up with my oldest son.
So this, with having turf, this makes it so we'll be able to play 3 seasons. So we'd start beginning of March and go all the way till November. So that is October 28th. Do you remember right? Fall was a crazy wet month. I mean, couple months. So that we didn't end until November 18th. So that was kicking out 5-gallon bucket. We'd fill it in 20 seconds. So you can see how much water that is. So this is a field that a turf company did, just Island Park, something like that, Island Grove, that we met with. So as you can see, if you could zoom up a little, Marissa, you can see the many lines that are on there. So this is a obviously it would just be the infield, but we'll go to that slide in a minute. You can see the different pegs for the bases right here.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. So you can do, softball, 10U, 12U. I mean, they all have different bases. I mean, it lines up here, all the different pitching distances.
so that's a softball.
So it's softball, yeah, but it could be multi-use. You could do baseball.
Baseball's 90 feet.
Yeah, so it could be.
Well, but if you did, like you said, 10U, 12U, 14U is before you get 90-foot bases, but you have a shorter fence.
Shorter
Could've
fence.
been
Yeah,
worse.
we're 315 on
Yeah,
the fence.
315.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
So you were saying that was the field that you were showed the pumping.
Yeah,
This
pumping.
is that field.
No, this isn't the field. This is just one a turf company came up with, and they did add another job. So I was just showing you the different things that you could do, like baseball, softball, all those things
That you could do.
that you could
So we don't have
do.
any of this yet.
No.
This is us requesting and designing the next 5 years of funding to be able to do these wonderful things.
Yeah.
Nearly every high school in our school district have gone to turf mounds and turf home plate And most of them have gone from home, batter's box area all the way back to the fence because that grass gets beat up so much. And about half of them are trying to raise funds to go complete turf
So
infield
AstroTurf.
because maintenance is so tough on it.
And our weather, the seasons
Yeah.
for baseball
Yeah,
and softball in high school here right now.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
been
I
playing.
remember we were doing the fields. But we.
Yep.
It's 5 hours.
go through bags and bags of kitty litter trying to.
Has anyone been out? to
5
see
hours,
these?
but then still, and then another 2 days. That's 5 hours on Monday to hopefully play Wednesday night.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So we're trying to emulate BYU's baseball field.
I mean, that is the
That's
state of the
yeah.
state of the art. That
Yeah,
that
that's a
one's
really
up
nice
here.
Yeah.
You've got
They
turf
have
too.
broader funds to draw from.
Yeah.
And that
They make
same
one phone call,
company
they're
did
done.
the UVU baseball field, so.
Yeah.
They are, I mean, so that, if you wouldn't mind going to that,
Yeah,
yeah.
the upgrade, would you want to put a soccer field in there?
No.
We're gonna leave the outfield
Upgrades,
grass.
go to upgrades up. at the bottom.
So this is just the
That's kinda
infield.
like-
So
cutting out-
scroll
Yeah.
right.
Wait, yeah.
So this is what Ogden did right here.
Wrong color though.
Yes.
You gotta live with that color forever.
Where is that?
Ogden. So as you can
Born and
see,
raised in Ogden, so I'm curious what field that was.
yeah, do you remember, Debbie?
It was a rehab. Something had, it was
They had a flood
heavily
a couple of years
damaged.
ago, and with
Okay,
the money,
it's not important.
they bought the sod from the old, the Ogden Pioneers or the Ogden what's the-
Raptors.
Raptors,
Yeah.
Raptors.
When they redid their field, they bought the
Turf. from them.
turf from them and
Yeah.
brought it over, and they used some funds because it was in a flood zone or something now.
So you can see
That's cool.
the difference
Yeah, that's
in
nice.
versus the turf and grass. So this is what ideally what it would be, turf infield, grass outfield.
Yeah, rarely ever do you have, oh shoot, you can't use the field because the outfield is too wet.
Yeah,
It's always infield.
Yeah.
And
infield.
like you said, the maintenance dollars of the infield compared to the outfield, the maintenance time
Oh,
spent.
yeah.
You're just running, I mean, not to minimize it, you're just running a mower out there.
Yeah, once a
Versus-
week
Yeah,
versus
Yeah.
dragging it and prepping it
Dragging it, prepping it.
every
They,
day.
they take about 5 hours prepping fields, all those 5 fields at Lakeside.
Yeah.
So, like, go down to the other picture. See it.
This one?
There should be, yeah, keep on going. But not too.
The others? This one and then this one.
So that's a better one that you can see. So,
So they got the grass in the outfield and then.
grass outfield. So,
What,
And then,
what kind of lifetime or warranty do they have on these fields?
it's about
10
10
year
years.
warranty. I'm hearing 15 to 20 on lifetime. Half of that's under warranty. And again, that depends. Are we running 6-7 days a week, 20 hours a week? And
Yeah,
what's the warranty on your batter's box versus,
Yep.
I mean, the question there is, in the infield. You don't wear tennis shoes, but in the outfield, you're gonna have cleats.
non-metal cleats.
So a lot of softball, adult softball, wear like those coaches turf, those turf shoes,
Yeah.
even in the dirt
I would say
outfield.
for baseball.
For baseball,
We don't allow metal
Yeah.
cleats in our
We
league
don't know
anyway.
what OIB does either.
Yeah, OIB went all non-metal.
But those cleats are okay on that? turf?
yeah, they should be.
Probably the batter's boxes, the catcher's spot and the mound would be the ones that you'd want to look at.
Yeah.
cut in.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
and that's,
You cut it.
yeah,
with-
that's-
it allows for that
Usually-
pretty easily. Yep.
Yeah, you usually set it up so that it's replaceable.
Yeah.
Those sections are replaceable.
So Lakeside, we go 5 nights a week, 4 games on each field, on 5 fields. So we have 134 teams this season. Last year we had 128. So those are just some numbers. And if we add another, we could fit 3 seasons in with having a third
You guys should be able to subsidize.
Spring, summer, fall.
spring, summer, fall. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Start March and go all the way.
Subsidize baseball, though.
So what's
So-
the cost on something like this?
Well, hold on one second. We're getting there. So what we bring
Let's
in.
talk about all the good stuff first.
Yeah, yeah.
Throw the sticker out.
So the grass, so what we do currently is about 67, that's what we're on right now. Okay, 67,000 gross. money-wise.
37.
Cost
No, for like what our program brings in, 67,000.
for
So if we
just
do-
that,
yeah.
at that complex.
Yeah, so that's what each season brings in. So a summer, a spring one.
So you're saying
67,000.
3 seasons, 60,
Wow,
Yeah.
you're
So-
200 grand
times 3.
for
So-
1 year.
So then you go, what we like is rentals on the weekend. I mean, that would just be Monday through Thursday, league nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rentals. So baseball, softball. We're having a softball tournament this weekend. We had one down in the park last weekend. I mean, it's being used, but
For sure.
Okay.
now
Have you made any thoughts or estimates on, if you were to do that with your field, how much would it grow the participation? Like you're 134 teams now. How many teams could you hold and still run 3 leagues?
so we are full Monday through Thursday, 100% full, weightless.
Couldn't take
any
Okay.
more. Friday nights, that's one that we have 5 fields. We're using 3 fields in our seasons. So, but I mean, the only time each year fluctuates on Friday night. So
Yeah.
those are usually hard to find staff and umpires. So, and the rentals make sense because you just open the keys and let them do it. And so, so yeah, rentals, baseball, softball, adult softball, from March all the way till November. And that would, by being safe, it's about another 60,000 rental wise. So almost $250,000.
Wow.
So,
Good.
And then, did I share with you that diagram that shows prices on it? Do you have that one, Bryce?
Yeah, it's 314 per infield.
Yeah, something like that.
So we'd be looking at about 1.5, 1.6 million to go turf on all of them. All 5 of
On
them.
5 fields.
All 5 fields, yep.
You're making almost $250,000 a year.
So we promise any money to help us.
I mean, then you'd have to bring it like.
Promise? No, because of ARPA.
Right.
The fencing and all
Now,
that, yeah.
that was last
A
year's
lot of it
prices.
is basic expenses, staff, paying them and umpires and all that. If you have rentals, you're paying one person to be there.
So you're saying
Open
we already have
games.
the fencing that will shorten the fields for depending on what.
It would just be portable fencing that's
Yeah.
$1,000 or whatever.
Yeah,
And
netting.
yeah, the netting. And,
It's not an
yeah,
expensive.
it's not
cost.
ours. So I mean, we have pretty much, we'd have to buy portable mounds for baseball, things like that, but it would be strictly softball. Monday
Now
through
you
Thursday.
have one staff person that would be there to watch and oversee
Yep.
rather than a whole bunch of.
On rentals, yep, and.
And again, the
Yeah,
30, 40 hours a week of maintenance that gets to move to
Yeah, I was
other
gonna
parks.
say,
'cause they're not
what's the
doing it.
offset? We know what it brings in.
Yeah, revenue wise.
What does it save the city in maintenance dollars?
So I don't know, I don't have those numbers, but that'd be like a parks question.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much it is for like a bag of chalk or turf and things like those, but I mean, it would save,
But if you're 5 hours a day,
yeah, and that's multiple people there too.
I do know that we just put in as part of the parks capital improvement, we didn't put in, they put in a $180,000 infield rehab cost for city center. So to truly rehab those fields.
laser it, clean it up, yep.
Well, and dig out,
Bring in
That's
different dirt.
yeah, bring in, I mean, so that's a $200,000 every, 5 to 10 years project in addition to the staff maintenance, and all of that is offset by something like this. We bring in the rubber beads. You have to rerun that in. You have to have a attachment to your tractor that brushes and grooms, especially on the base paths and everything like that. But there's a lot of time that those staff could be at other parks or other parts of Lakeside or other infield facilities, because these are in a lot of ways automatic at this point.
But if you, just looking at Lakeside, and you said, okay, we raise $250,000 a year just in revenue to play. If you saved $100,000 in costs to prep and everything else, that's a 4-year payoff for all of them to be done on a 10 to 15 year life. Even if you had some ongoing maintenance for batter's boxes and pitcher's mounds and things, city's making money on that.
As you look at our CIP plan, and Sean has done amazing work, Debbie as well, we've tried to put an emphasis on the initial investments from the CIP that will then create their own future revenues. So we have to ask for less and less and less, longer and longer term, or we're able to focus on other facilities. And so these infields, we'll talk here about soccer, 2 artificial soccer turf fields and some lights here in a second. But making the investments now that then make it so that we come to the council and the city and a lot less frequently, because we're making investments. And not that we don't also love free playgrounds that don't cost anything, and they're free, and as well they should be. But these new sort of additions are focused on things that will help us perpetuate investments in athletic facilities moving forward.
So this is what I sent you, Bryce, with those pricing and all that.
Should probably clarify, they put the cost to do 8 fields. We have no interest in
Yeah.
turfing everything at Lakeside.
So,
So you mean the soccer,
Yes,
turfing all the soccer?
that's what they sent to us. We have no interest in turfing all of the soccer fields.
You're interested in how many?
2.
At least initially, just the two.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
Two
see what
soccer
the
fields?
payback on that is.
Here
How
at
much
this
earlier
side?
can you start
how
on?
much earlier?
How much
Yes.
longer, later in the year?
At
can you
this
play on?
side.
That's the.
That's kind of the
Soccer, you
layout
could
right
play,
now,
you
but
know,
those top
baseball
6
fields on
weren't
the
on
field
our
is, you know,
radar.
in
So you're
December,
looking at these
January,
two,
training and
adjacent
things
to
like
the-
that, so.
Yes.
Or across from the fields.
I mean, what does a soccer field cost?
$831,000. And then and we would do 2 fields side by side so that you could combine
So you're
them,
1.6 now?
and then another $510,000 for lights.
Yeah, that'd be-
Oh yeah, this is our 5-year plan. This is over 5 years.
Yeah.
So Sean, I don't know. I mean, similar. We've done our initial pro forma for how many increased rentals we know that there is a demand for January, February play. We know that there's a demand for 8, 9, 10 p.m. play. There's
There's a demand for November, December.
Yeah.
and guaranteed
Yeah.
weather play. You can
Yeah.
play right on the rain in the middle of it if you would like to.
So with the softball, with that, the video that was there, we couldn't play on that field for another, I think we pumped on
Missed a week.
Thursday. We missed a week. Even with pumping it,
Yeah.
that's what it does. I mean,
I know
it kills you, but if it rains, you can play the next day.
At City Center, if we have a flood like that, even if we pump it off, we've got to wait 2 or 3 days to play on it, because if anybody gets on it and ruts it,
Just over
then it's,
Your tractor and it.
yeah, it's,
well,
So-
you can't get the ruts out of it.
When you're looking at those fields, are you also looking at past experiences that there's certain areas of the field that just get hammered, right in front of the box obviously gets hammered, and the center area gets hammered pretty good. So would that be set up to where you could have that as replaceable as well?
Yeah, I think just like we talked about with the pitcher's mound and the batter's boxes, we have to do something similar.
Not only that, but there are particular sports. I know you've been involved with lacrosse, and people frown upon lacrosse on their soccer fields because they literally will take the heads of their sticks, and that's part of what you do is like you're digging them in, and it's pretty brutal on
Yeah, the
natural
face-off
turf.
will tear up the center.
This allows, same thing if we have rugby, which is a sport, or football, which is a sport that is not kind to artificial turf. Soccer is very hesitant about allowing those types of movements or those types of sports on their fields. This gives us 2 fields where we really can accommodate several sports without having to worry about some of those concerns.
So question, Bart, I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
On if we went and did the soccer fields all at once, right? Maybe it's cheaper now than. So you're talking 6.5 mil. Depending on the care tax money. You could borrow from the slush fund, pay that back, take it out all the time.
And I would honestly,
Or are you thinking it just you want to pay as you go?
Maybe a hybrid.
Well, so if
yeah.
Maybe a hybrid would be, we figure out what fields would give us, or what
Quickest
uses would give
ROI.
us the greatest ROI. Yep.
Oh, then that's 500,000 for lights, right, per field?
And again, Dave, I would say we like natural grass at Lakeside for most of the field. I don't think we're even wanting to do
Okay.
fields 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ever. This would give us a corner of the complex where we could do 2 full-size soccer fields, or really 4 training-size soccer fields, flag football fields, enough that is
Later in
used
the
differently.
season, later at night.
And so we are looking at a total, there's Miller. You have about $2 million on the infield. You have another 1.6 on the soccer field, another 500,000 on the lights. There is $4 million of these projects here that we would look at over the next 5 years of funding. And that's what we have sort of, we'll talk about it heavily in the CARES meetings in a couple of weeks, but we've tried to strategize to say, what gets us the best ROI first? Where is our most immediate need first? What gives us the greatest flexibility as an organization first to provide those services?
Accommodations. Yeah.
But, Dave, I think to your point, those strategy conversations are really neat. I think there's a lot of excitement around. I would say the one tricky part is we don't know that we'll have care tax for the next 5 years. Voters next November will decide how long this is to go. And it seems like there's a lot of excitement around it.
Boy, I can't
It
imagine.
was,
Next
it
election,
was
November.
60,
November.
65%.
Really?
Yeah,
It's not an
I,
annual thing,
unless
is it?
something
For a 5
goes
year
drastically
10
different,
years?
it seems like the residents will be really excited about it, especially as we build projects like this that are
Well,
highly
look at the
visible.
projects that have already been built. And how could they not be excited about all the things that have happened in the city over the last?
No, and I think that with the
5
art,
or
with
6 years.
the health center leaving, that's gonna give more money to arts groups that they were taking money. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be more money for more.
Oh, so Hale Center's leaving. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the
Pleasant
PG,
Grove.
PG
What the
gave
hell?
Oh, the Pleasant Grove one.
Well, they're moving from here. to Pleasant
They're
Grove.
going to the doTERRA campus and they're
Oh.
giving them all this money, which they had to deal with them all, but that's another story.
Yeah.
They're gonna leave, so they get a haircut. So there you
Now look,
So
that's
doTERRA make
simple.
deals with them or PG City make deals with them?
doTERRA.
go. Both. PG is gonna pay the taxes and everything on the facility and run it.
Yeah, tax increment financing for the
Like,
purchase.
okay, that would have gone over with in one. So I think farm away, but that's fine. We have the Sierra and we're fine.
So this picture right here, you can see like home plate and the pitcher's mound, like the main areas. They put something on top of the turf to save it.
Gotcha.
So you don't go through it so fast. It's just something, an extra durable thing. So it's something cheaper to add to it just to save it longer. That way you're
Well, it
just
kind of just
replacing
shows
the
where you
whole.
would put a
Well,
cutout.
it's just, yeah, it's just a cut.
You cut and put a new
That's
piece
on
in.
top or is that a cutout?
I thought it was cut out.
That's a cutout that's on top, like it's legit on top of it.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can pull it out and get rid of it and
Okay,
next year do it again. So.
Yeah. very inexpensive, really.
Well, any other questions for Sean and some of the athletics CIP the next 5 years?
Were the thought process on the city center fields down the road or no?
Yes, and I mean, so one thing here that that Sean's talked about is I have asked them to move all leagues off of Fridays if we can get this forward. And the idea there is that we start to work with OYB as one of our renters, but they all of a sudden we pick a couple of weekends a year that y'all are running your own tournaments of, and Lakeside goes from exclusive softball to we have the flexible base.
Multi-use,
It's
yeah.
multi-use, and so the idea there was to start with that because these are already fully fenced. They already have the updated and advanced lighting systems, and so it was a lot cheaper to throw the turf at these fields and bring OYB over than to do all of the fencing and a lot of the other amenities that we also have to do at City Center.
Well, my guess also is return on investment is going to be different because you probably generate more funds off of these fields.
These are premier fields. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a softball, but
260 some odd thousand a year they're making.
Yeah.
Stills.
And
That's
you
like-
make
If
that,
we had
That's
three,
Lakeside.
yeah.
We probably have the biggest adult softball program in the state.
oh, it's not close. Yeah, we
yeah, for
crush it.
sure.
We
Even
crush it.
bigger than Spanish Fork.
Oh, by long shot, yeah.
No, they again different priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, fart.
I mean, maybe
So-
St. George because they could play year round and all that, but they have the weather.
They don't have as many teams.
Yeah, they don't have as many teams.
So how many,
They run tournaments.
for tournaments, how many diamonds are available here in Orem? That are available
For softball.
for,
For adults,
okay,
for
softball,
youth,
yeah,
what are
just,
you talking?
well, I don't know.
We have
We
17.
have 17 total ball fields.
Okay.
There's 5 down at Lakeside that are predominantly used for adults. Adult slow pitch.
Okay. What, I'm just the fence line, I'm sorry. Out there,
316
300.
shot.
I'm just curious in the sense that, have we gone after some of these larger tournaments?
We haven't because we use them so, I mean, right now, our
Yeah, we had-
leagues, Monday through Friday, and then we run some of our Saturday
Okay.
programs down there right now too. But the hope is if we can get them turfed so we can, the uses a little bit. I mean, right now, I feel like we're on them so much. Our biggest complaint is they're just not in as good a shape as we
Right.
want them to.
Yeah.
And
that's
it's
what
hard to
happens.
keep them in.
Yeah, it just takes so
Top shape.
much work. So if we could turf them, move our Fridays and Saturdays off, I think we could go after some of the bigger tournaments. We did a tournament last week. It was a rental, brought in $3,500 for half a Friday and all day Saturday.
Plus the
That's
economic
not- yeah.
impact for the city,
But
I
if
mean,
you-
the
if
restaurants,
you were-
hotels.
That was just what they
Use
paid
the
for the
Lakeside.
fields.
You could start drawing national tournaments.
Yep, yep.
Because there's not a better place in the country to play tournaments
That's my point.
because of the temperature and lack of humidity.
Yeah.
You would draw national tournaments. that would all come
National,
here.
so Worlds is in Orlando for softball, and then there's some in Vegas too.
Yeah.
Those are both turf complexes and all that.
The other thing is
And
they
everybody
usually have
knows-
more fields.
Yeah,
They probably have like 12,
yeah,
16
that's-
Oh,
fields.
wait, but
But we
five
could do
fields?
some
I mean,
good,
there's
we
some good
could do
ones.
some good tournaments here.
Yeah. My biggest complaint, hold on.
Go ahead,
Before
please.
I peace out,
So,
is ground balls, bad hops, and batters boxes. Turf gets rid of that.
Yeah.
It's just a clean hop, clean bounce.
no,
It's quicker bounce.
It's
too.
quicker bounce, yes.
Yes.
It skips hard.
But it's consistent.
Yep, it's
You
consistent.
know what you get.
So,
So how can-
are we looking
go
at
ahead,
the,
sorry.
were you looking at the dollars then? Were you gonna show us anything about, I mean, you told us about the costs and whatnot, but, in terms of, you said a 5-year plan, I'm curious as to
So
how that's looking, or is that still to be determined and still being worked on?
I know what we're presenting on, and so this has been submitted to the council in their work packets, and we'll have a care meeting in 2 weeks where we'll really get into the details. But essentially, we're hoping to move first on lights for the soccer fields because we can fund and build that all in 1 year.
you're talking about
So that's the
Two
two
fields,
fields,
two fields,
two
two
fields at
fields.
Lakeside.
The same two that
That's
you're.
the million
That will
dollars.
eventually
That's
turf
the
because
million
they're going to get a lot of use the next
Yeah.
year. But we know that we're about to turf, so it's okay in our minds to use them hard, given
Yeah.
that we're about to take a backhoe to them anyways.
Perfect.
So then the next would be the 2 soccer fields, and then the next after that would be the infields. And so that is our 5-year plan for Lakeside. There's a couple of other things. We're not taking every care dollar we have. We have a splash pad. Mariah's going to talk a second about a swim wall, which would greatly increase our swim team capacity and our ability for fitness swimming at the same time. So we could accommodate our own team and other needs and asks for pool lane rental time. So there are other things that we need to do with care dollars and the Fund 45 and Fund 56. But as we put the ones in that get us the most ROI first, we're able to hopefully snowball and accelerate some of these. And so that's why this,
softball is not that's the ROI first.
it is not.
So you think soccer, but the lights is first.
Lights is first, soccer is
Soccer
second,
fields, and then you-
or well, honestly, swim wall is first. Swim wall is 1A.
Well,
and-
that has to be because we're getting lunch.
So
Okay, okay.
I don't mind, I can take it.
So what is the, what's the annual care tax available to recreation?
currently the city receives about $3 million a year in care tax. And traditionally it has been split between arts and parks,
Like 50/50 or?
50-50-ish. What we are sort of looking at here is what we feel is like almost like a third separate track where you have arts, you have parks, which are things like playgrounds and pavilions and trails. And now we have like an athletic facilities track. And so we're interested to sort of see what the feeling is on how we continue to split that. Does all of this new track come out of parks, or do we create a third independent track? We'll go from there. So right now, I would say it's likely to come almost exclusively out of parks. But again, there's been some major players and changes to the care tax, and we'll see what happens.
And so, I mean, with the care tax money, that's 1/10 of 1% for our sales tax. So the sales tax, which we're booming, have gone up, right? If the economy has a recession, you're gonna have less care tax money, so it could be 2 million or even less. So arts gets $1 million and direct so.
Okay, so care tax, what you're saying is it's actually part of the sales tax that's being earmarked for these specific.
That's what we voted on, 1/10 of 1%. Used to be, it went in all one pot and they used pretty much 90% for arts.
Yeah.
And then 10% rec or whatever. So now it's 50/50. So which is more, it's fair, even though arts is playing, but I think it's fair, so.
Sean.
Given usage.
The problem is with recreation, you can use it for facilities. So artists can say, okay, I'm a dance company and I want $5,000 care for my. So it's they application where it's not that way for recreation. Recreation is different. So it's not like, that's why we give
Dave's the guy. You know, I'm interested to hear. I'm learning in real time that we might be able to borrow against and do it all at once. I would say the biggest thing we want is leading up to the re-vote on it in November 2023. We want to have a acceleration impact so that in October 23, they're looking around, they're like, look at all the stuff that's opening and is brand new. And so a big splash pad at the Sierra Pool, the
should
swim
give
wall
them some.
here, and we wanted
Before
to
that.
finalize something here. And so, maybe we do look at some of those alternative things, but a lot of it's been voted on. We're not asking for a bond measure or anything like that. It really is to say, maybe this comes at the expense of, but we're doing it alongside parks of the pavilion replacement schedule or something. And so and I feel like they support this. We've met with them before we went anywhere else and said, we don't want to compete with y'all for our own dollars, but we want to start to think about sports in a sports tourism way, as opposed to just a playground replacement cycle. And they've been excited about this. We're telling them, hey, less maintenance.
Yeah.
Some of the first
Well-
fund $56 are going to go right back to our parks team to better maintain the infields that we do have and the grass that we do have, and say, what tools do y'all need? What robots and machines do y'all want
Exactly.
to do this better? And that's where our first $56 is going right to the parks team. And so I think they see the vision of, let's create our own revenue sources so we can increase our maintenance and the quality of the work we're doing.
So
go
Dave,
ahead.
how do you help city council say, yippee-ki-yay, let's do it?
Well, listen,
That wink gets him at a lot of meetings. Seen at a lot of tables.
That's what I'm worried about.
There's the
I think
$1 million
the
question.
recognition normally what we want, and I think we pretty much push back.
I can't imagine with an ROI like this, it pays itself off and starts generating revenue for the city. They wouldn't.
So my question, Bryce, is have you been sitting down with the arts people to work these things through, or you pretty much leave it in the council's hands?
I don't feel like that's our decision to make, to be honest, to say,
Okay,
hey,
I mean, I
less
agree
arts
with
people,
that, but-
as a humanities major, myself, I need to defend the arts and the value they bring to our city.
Nothing, you just step a few steps down.
Yeah. There's the reason you haven't heard about that for the first year of knowing me. We'll keep that deep.
On the down low.
Yeah.
Keep that on the.
Yeah, exactly. Some
That's
strategic
just-
omissions from
just-
the
this
resume.
meeting only.
However, though, I think we can start to communicate. Our hope is to communicate. This is different than than the parks and the trails and the playgrounds. This feels different. And so even if it
it's
is
not in competition with those other things.
we don't think so.
Yeah.
Now, and so that will be some of the language that, as Dave receives feedback from a lot of different groups and organizations, maybe there is a chance to message what we're doing. This isn't about travel kids sports, but it is a little bit about economic stimulation through sports
Yes.
tourism. And this isn't
Yes.
about
Yeah. 'cause
bringing
you
in the
start
out-of-town
looking at
kids.
Restaurants and hotels.
That's
and-
huge.
And
Yeah,
then
that
providing
benefits
the
the
best
entire
stuff for our kids
That
too.
benefits the entire community.
Yeah.
In a positive way, in a financial way. That's, it's hard to.
Did Alex or Ben have any questions?
They've been awful quiet, haven't they?
Nope, they haven't said anything.
Danny or Alan, any thoughts or questions, concerns about what we're talking about?
No, I don't.
No, I think I'm following along. I just can't see all the nice pictures you're showing each other.
Oh, I wasn't.
Well, we'll get this next one. So I'm going to turn over to Mariah really quick. So one of the last ones for our CIP is what's called a swim wall system. Now, we haven't run this by our pool engineer yet. Our contractor CEM, we have a Mirtha liner on our pool. But we have a 50-meter pool, which is really, really unique. But for 9 months a year, the swim teams want 25-meter pools. And so we take our pool, which has 50 meters of lanes, and it has 6 lanes down at the other end, and we run the 25-meter, which leaves the other 37 meters basically unused. A swim wall is a temporary wall system that pops up in the middle, so you have 8 lanes of 50 meters, and then it becomes 8 lanes of 2 halves of 25 meters. We could go from what's been traditionally a 6-lane 25-meter pool to a 16-lane 25-meter pool without really impacting the general public. And
Also, you can have, 3 lanes doing 50-meter at the same time that you have
5 lanes.
5 lanes on each side doing
really?
25.
So 10 lanes.
Well, yeah, we have 8 long lanes, or you can decide to operate however you want. So if you had,
Oh, really?
I just shared it with you, Marissa, through your emails.
I'm thinking her fingernails might be doing things.
Back off just a little bit.
You should have an office next where you can hear the tic-tac going on the keyboard there.
But you can choose to operate in a way where if you have
Can
2
you share your
swim
screen to the Zoom
teams
so
doing
that I
8
can see?
lanes
Okay,
at the
thanks.
same time, if you have your higher intensity swimmers that need the long course, you can also have those and your rec team right next to them and kind of split the pool into long course
Oh,
and
I
short
see,
course
yeah,
at the
so
same
that's
time.
that.
But then, so they fold
Down flat,
and.
not flat, but
So how,
against.
so are they like 2 feet or how wide are they?
They're not very wide, they're not walkable, like.
Oh, they're not, okay, so
Yeah,
it's just.
it's not like bulkheads where
Okay.
you should.
So
be
then I would
walking.
just land up, then it wouldn't impede anybody,
I mean, you would see it. It's 6 inches, so it's gonna be like there's a block in the middle of the pool that's 6 inches by 4
then you're
feet.
utilizing almost.
Yes.
That's the goal, that's the intent, to be able to.
So is this like a hydraulic system or?
Yep.
It's a water filling or an air filling system, so there's air in all of those little
So you don't have staff out there pulling on these
little
walls?
straws.
Okay.
They press a button and it takes 60 seconds to inflate and about 60 seconds to keep.
And you have
Once
to
it's deflated, it'll sink down to the bottom.
and
out
lay
of the
flat.
way.
Pull down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we don't know if our
Air
pool is, if it'll work.
So not will it work, at what cost will it work? So we have what's called a Mirtha liner on the bottom of our pool. Very popular systems right now, but this would have to install on top of the Mirtha liner. So we're working through what's the warranty situation. If we install this on top of that, do we risk our Mirtha liner warranty? And we lose.
Voiding the warranty.
Yeah. And those are big questions. But
Sure.
at what point does it become? I mean, we have a very real water crisis in the county. We got a lot of kids that want to swim team, and we're short on water.
I'm hearing it.
And yeah, I'm sure you're hearing it. And so if we go from 6 to 16 lanes,
Every day, brother, every day, yeah.
that basically we could provide every lane that we've been providing to an outside club, for example, and then pick up an additional 6 to 8 to 10 lanes for us to run our own club, and we would still be ahead of where we're at. So this is, what is a 3-year of a Mirtha liner warranty worth?
If you guys pull us up, we'll put it in.
There we go.
There you go.
You heard it here first.
Hey, Debbie.
So, Danny, if you're on the call, you've been around a lot of swimming pools. Any thoughts or concerns about a system like this? Obviously, the built-in bulkhead would be the dream, but those are difficult to retrofit to existing pools, especially one as old as ours. So this was our next best thought. Have you seen anything like this? Any thoughts, concerns?
I haven't seen anything like this, but I don't see it as being anything detrimental. I think, in fact, it's a great idea. We've done all years ago. We did everything we possibly could to expand our lanes by even hooking the 18-yard sections, the middle section, so that would expand out and use that for lessons and swim teams and recreational swimmers. But to have this, to be able to go to 16 lanes and to have the ability to still keep your 50-meter long course going, and thus you have the summer programs that want to swim long course, the club type of things, and then you have the 25 meters so that they can swim short course, I think, or the 25 meter. I think that's great. And your usage would go up. You'll put a lot more kids in, a lot more teams. So if it's, and it sounds to me like you've done the research to know that it's a viable option and people have used it. And it'd be great. The way it's designed, you're not putting in a lot of expenses. They're not putting lane lines on them, so it's going through there. So, you're using all the same equipment. You're just putting a way for them to sit there. I'm sure the integrity of the wall is such that people can turn on it, push off on.
Yeah, they said you would have a 98% force retention on your swim. So if a perfect concrete wall is 100%, this is 98%.
Yeah.
So,
For a training type of facility, doing what you're doing with it, I think this would be great. I mean, even to the point of when I think of swim meets and hosting, and now you could go from, you'd have an 8-lane course that you could swim at a 25 meter versus, a 6-lane course. The opportunities are kind of endless to what you could do because of that. So I think this would be great. Again, whatever the cost is would be probably the detrimental thing.
Well, we have been pleasantly surprised with the cost of a swim wall, given the potential ROI and what we're able to rent lanes for. Mariah got some numbers back from them today, and given the high estimates on freight and construction installation, what does a unit like this look like for our pool?
I think it was under 100,000 for the unit itself, with then additional cost in like the construction and the installation. So it was a lot less than we had anticipated.
Probably 170.
Maybe a little bit more.
Construction's pretty expensive,
Okay, so
and that still feels like a great deal.
And
I'm
then-
having
Yeah, that's a really good deal.
a blow up wall, where do you get 98% of?
You
I'm not sure I-
do lock the unit once it blows up. You then drop a lever and lock it into the walls, if that makes sense. And that's what gives you the rigidity of
So like
a wall.
base laying
Because it's
down.
attached at the bottom.
Yes, it's attached at the
It's got-
bottom.
Yeah, I can
it's
see
laying
that.
down,
So
but one's up.
So you're drilling you're creating a base, and then, that's what I'm saying. So you have to have staff get in there and actually, once you inflate that, push the inflation
No.
is what lifts it
It'll,
up.
yeah, it'll.
You have a
inflate
tool
itself
that you
up.
walk up to the edge, stick it down into, and that's what inflates it up. So you don't have to get into the water.
Yeah,
Then you have to lock something.
And then you lock it in. Once it's upright, you lock it in, and that's what they're again, the literature from the salespeople said 98% retention. Yeah,
And then salespeople. that's the
yeah,
key
you know
word.
how it goes. We've reached out to them as of this week to say, hey, this is what we're looking at, and
And then
hopefully
you'll
we'll
reach out to other, I don't know, cities or whoever that has done this before. And
this is a pretty
Get
new
some
technology.
references.
We have some references.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania
Yeah,
has one.
Pennsylvania has one that they've installed, and they ordered their second one because they had such good success in, it was like Burkesville, that's not the right city, I can't remember the city, but they had one, they had a lot of success with it, they've had it for a little over a year, and they just submitted an order for a second one because they run 2 pools, and
Wow.
it made so much sense in their first one that they're,
250-meter pools.
So we need to filter.
all of us. Well,
There's one in Australia too. So if we're picking,
There's a few in Australia. They're an Australian company, so I think we'd be maybe the second or third location in the United
Stateside.
States. But
we like
Yeah.
that. Being cut
You know, considering
Pretty good.
considering what you get from this and really what you're applying for it, it's 200 grand. It's a no-brainer to, in essence, double your pool.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That-
I mean, go think of what it would cost to build another even 25-yard, 25-meter facility.
yeah, 200,000 versus 10 to 12 million to build a new.
Yeah. Yeah, this is let's do this. And even if it's not 100% ideal, you're not going to use it for competition. More than likely, you're going to use it for recreation and for training. And we train in hotel pools. We train wherever we can. So this would be great.
No, I love the side-by-side effect as well. That you can utilize 8 or 4 lanes at a time at a 25-meter, and then the other 4 lanes can be utilized at 50-meter at the same time. That
it's also pretty modular. You can choose to buy it in sets of 4, 3, or 2. So we could go in and evaluate if our swim team intends, or with the number of our practice lanes that we'll need to figure out if we want to have 5 and 3, or if we want to have
4, 2, and 2, 4, 4.
Yeah. Mhm. You get to modify it to your need. I think the max that you can do is 2 units of it, so we could choose 4 and 3, or
Gotcha.
But that is, I mean, looking at what you've got there, you've got what, a 4-lane, 50-meter pool, and then you got 8 lanes, or maybe this is a 10-lane pool. So it's showing you 2, 3, 4, 5, 10,
5 and 5.
10 25-yard lane or 25-meter lanes, and 5 50-meter lanes. That is a lot of swimming space. That's really a lot of space.
Yeah, the ability to grow, like you said.
Six
swimmers.
to 16 lanes solves a lot of problems and pressure we have right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Allows us to take care of multiple groups at the same time and prioritize high school swim, everything like that. Well, good. Well, y'all, these are our CIP requests. These are the fun things that we get to do. We want all of it immediately.
For sure.
But we think by starting with the things that get us the ROI, that snowballs everything else, it proves to our residents, our citizens, our council that we're equity focused, we're access focused, but we're also business focused, that we can run this in a way that doesn't keep requiring us to, raise a tax or raise a fee to be able to offer more for more people. And so we're really excited about this. Hopefully by next meeting in May, or June, whenever our next meeting is, we'll have some final answers. We could be designing lights at Lakeside, if we choose Lakeside as the spot for that, July 1st. So that's
Designing July 1st or installing July 1st?
if we get approval. I think the shipping world right now tells us even if we had money today, we wouldn't be installing July 1st, but hopefully soon. Hopefully, there we go. We'll put it on Dave's private plane. But our goal, we know that we start to lose sunlight in October of this year. And so if we had those lights up by then,
If you get approval by July 1st and make orders, hopefully by like. What is
By
it,
when we need
August or
Yeah.
So
early
this is all part of the
September?
budget process? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay, you're okay.
The budget process, when does the budget?
so the CIP presentation was yesterday. The CARE tax presentation, which is what funds our CIP requests, is in 2 or 3 weeks. And then the final budget is adopted end of May.
Mason,
So-
Okay.
And then goes into effect July 1.
So just a side note, the care tax then, what's the proposal for use of care tax currently?
What is the proposal for use of CARE tax currently? So we have made $780,000 of requests to be approved that will go to the 2 fields of lights and the swim wall for this upcoming year. Next
So that
year,
would be the first of a 5-year plan.
the first of the 5-year plan.
Okay.
Next year, we have payment 1 of soccer turf plus the Sierra splash pad renovation. Year 3 would be payment 2 and construction of soccer artificial turf
For 2 fields.
for 2 fields, because we had the payment in 2023 and 2024 combined together. Lights are this year.
Yep.
And then 25 and 26 would be infields at Lakeside. So even without a borrowing futures option, by 2027, everything we've talked about today could be there. And that's if we did not budget in additional funds coming into 56 through increased rental revenue. But our goal would be to take those in, and maybe that buys the fencing, maybe that buys some of the ancillary stuff to make these other things work. Maybe it just says, hey, can we get 250 at CARES? We're going to bring in 250 of our revenue from a sinking fund, and now we've got enough to do it a year early or something like that.
Maybe as the security tax comes up after it passes, then you can say, okay, hey, we have this for another 8 or 10 years. Can pull from our rainy fund, get it done.
All at once. So at that point, that would be November 23, that vote would pass. And so the spring 24 construction season, it's rock and roll time.
Because I don't have a problem.
The beauty of doing that is you would have a longer runway to show return on investment. How does it increase revenue with increased tournaments and play and things like that? And that would be awesome.
Because I'm in just 25.
We got to make sure we christen the Dave Spencer infields in time. Yeah.
So Dave, since you're the city council rep here, how does the RAC as a commission help the city council see what we think is awesome?
Well, I mean, we can make a statement, and say this is, but and basically, when Bryce says, hey, the RAC commission is
Supports it, yep.
supports 100%, and then if I say, hey, it looks good, they'll do it.
Okay.
Now, I gotta go back. You said 3 million annually in care tax?
Well, I want to say last year we got about 1.2 mil.
To
So
recreation,
to
to the
so
park staff.
2.4 mil.
Yeah, it's about 2.4, because then there's some administrative costs. So, yeah, it's probably 1.1, 1.2. It might be more because I think our sales tax is higher, but we won't know that because you don't really know until. Because it's not that our physical year is July to June.
And we spend care tax. So the care tax that we will spend next year is from this year's realized revenue. So we actually don't know exactly how much we're applying for next year based on how this goes. We do know month to month we're up, but you don't know until you know.
But we're saying that $1.2 million is being requested, just be 2 fields of lighting, 500,000 apiece, plus the 200,000 on the.
We're requesting 700 and something, 780, because there is a request in there for a new pavilion a new playground at the one over by the water reclamation, Spring Water Park. Thank you. There's a couple of other existing,
Some go to the Hillcrest Park.
not currently, but potentially, you know.
Yeah,
Is that already funded?
right, but I guess depends on the cost. I mean, everything's gone up, so it could be. But, yeah, I just think that need to make sure that that minimum 30,000 for the gross funds.
Yeah, yeah, that's not touched.
Because I wanted 50, but with OTEC now.
All right, so there are some other things that are.
The general stuff that we didn't want to compete with, as we wanted to add these things, we didn't want to tell parks, you're just gonna have to deal with older parks longer. You know, they've got their own master plan and schedule. I mean, and they're years and years out to show us what bathrooms are getting replaced and what playgrounds and that kind of thing.
Dealer programs? Or does the city council change the 50-50 split to 60?
No, that's what voted on. So you can't. Half is brick and half is starch.
Yeah, but all those years when art was more, we ought to get some of that back for a few years.
I agree with that. That's not the right word.
You can't give a wink, wink and a nod, make that happen?
No, that's it sits the vote
It was
Some
written in the ballot as 50
Oh, was it?
on the ballot.
So, but the thing is, if you're on the art side, more people have an opportunity to have some money.
For sure. Help
But
grow
I think
those
the big
programs.
benefactor could be the Sierra, because they've been there for ever.
Yeah.
They'll get the bulk of that probably, and then the city has some other playgrounds and stuff like that.
Cool.
Cool. Okay.
So should we then look at putting together some kind of formal statement as RAC?
You know, when we.
Or does that really matter? If we just say, if you say, hey, unanimous.
I don't think there's a lot of hard sells in front of us right now. I think,
I mean, skip out, seriously, I can't sell this now.
Can we get that in writing?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're live here.
My thing
So
is,
So let it be.
it is a
so-
no-brainer. I mean, your return on investment is, and then your other swim groups or whatever, we haven't kicked them out.
Huge immediate needs.
Absolutely.
Is this presentation going to the council or is this just for this?
they
group?
typically, we will do it in a administration session where we do the full presentation.
Okay.
We are, and I love the work that we do. We are not, our numbers with the number of digits we have are small fries in those presentations. They're talking $12 million water tanks and 20 million road tax and $127,000 for the swim wall. You know, it doesn't quite
Yeah.
hit.
That's
So
a
that,
rounding error
which
for
is
most
why,
of those
yes,
things.
which is why we have us to go through the details and talk Mirtha liners and installation and
If you were talking, farms can have their own swim pool. Well, that's gonna push up to their best. But this is a way to make it everybody.
we hope
And they can help pay for it. You really gotta step up and save some money.
they rent lanes. If they rent lanes, that pays for it. I mean, that's
For sure.
how it works.
And-
Is
and most of them, I mean, they consider most farm bogus. That's why I'm gonna need the toll road, so they probably gotta pay a toll road.
Hey, Bryce.
yes.
So I've got to drop off here at the top of the hour, and but I'm very supportive of the things that we've seen and talked about today. So thank you very much. Do you need any other things from me before I drop?
I would say we didn't even get to the Mariah stuff, but we got a lot of money going out to our part-time lifeguards here. Otherwise, we will be lifeguardless this summer. And so that's probably the other thing to be aware of. Not a ton to look at it, but we will be paying, we're readjusting our personnel budgets to make sure that we're able to afford paying hourly rates to these very essential part-time staff that we have. So just an FYI on that one.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Alan. And y'all, it is 5 o'clock. I like to end on the hour. If there's nothing else, I'm glad to stick around for a few minutes, but let's end our meeting and we'll go from there. Please.
Just regarding the question came up earlier regarding maintenance costs. I think I'd be very interested to know what the maintenance cost savings would be. That's part of it's still to be generated, those kinds of costs. I'd like to be aware of that because that also adds, fodder to the.
Yeah, a combination of revenue and cost savings is what really. pays for.
I
that
don't,
something that
I
we're
don't
pursuing?
think it would not be in our best interest. Nope, too strong. Our current thought is that those hours would actually not be cost savings, but would immediately be applied to other ball fields, soccer fields, and other athletic facilities. You go over to the turf at Palisade Park right now, and it is a park playing surface, not an athletic field playing surface. And that is strictly a function of the available time. And so we could show it as a soft savings, but in reality, our goal is to say if we've
We just
got,
reallocated
Well,
those somewhere else.
so that we get that deeper care of the other
Well,
locations.
it still fits into the argument, not the argument, fits into the presentation in the sense that we would have these funds available that will go immediately into increased hours for other areas, but that still becomes, in my view, at least a piece
Yeah.
to be able to have that as part of the presentation. I would be curious to know what, okay, let's not call it savings, but let's say it's some reallocated.
Some value.
Some value. What is the value that applied elsewhere?
We'll talk to our park staff and say, hey, realistically, if there was no dirt here, because again, they just run a mower on those soccer fields. It's pretty
Right.
straightforward. It's that
Right.
dirt that is expensive and labor intensive. Maybe we can get an estimate on the total infield labor hours per year that'd be saved. And even though we wouldn't communicate it as a savings, we'd show it as a value add.
Yeah, for sure, because those hours are put somewhere else where they're desperately needed.
Okay. Well, y'all, thank you again. I'm going to end our meeting officially, but thank you for sticking around and talk. Danny, appreciate you being here. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks.
I've already eaten lunch.